All right, we have Dan Wise here, and Matthew Cox, still here, buddy. So how do you know Dan, or of Dan?
I was on Concrete Podcast, and guys in the comment section kept saying, oh, you got to check out. Oh, you know what it was? It was the second one I did where I said I cooperated. And guys were telling me I needed to check out. I needed to do what you were doing. Like, you got to check out this guy, RDAPDAN. And then I had a buddy named, another buddy I know who was like, hey, there's this guy. He's got this channel. He was in the drug program. He got out. He started it. And several people said it, so I checked out his channel. And then I think I sent him an email or something just saying, hey, look, if you ever want to interview me, we may or may not have a similar story. I'm not sure if but a lot of guys have suggested that I talk to you. That was it.
So then he contacts you.
Yeah, he sent me a text
figure
message.
Out who he is pretty quick, I'm sure.
Yeah, I thought he was completely on a different planet when I first spoke to him, just hearing his story. But after Googling, it was pretty impressive. And I thought, hey, this would be a fun guy to connect with.
So then what happened from there?
Then we didn't. So many things happened because we never did connect.
I blew him off several times.
Yeah,
but not just because I over promise and under deliver. I put too many things on my plate.
Yeah, it just kept getting pushed off, and
then you finally connect with him.
Recently, I saw his interview on on Big Herc's channel.
Nice.
What's his channel called again?
Fresh Out.
Fresh Out. Saw it on Fresh Out, which I'm a fan of. In case you're watching Big Herc, don't want no problems with you. But huge fan, and I saw his interview on there and thought it was hilarious the last few minutes. So reached back out to him and said, "Man, I gotta do something with you. When are you going to be around?" And didn't know he lived in Tampa this whole time. It was right around the corner from me.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So and then that's just where you're at now.
He said, my buddy Tommy's got this awesome channel. He's got a marketing company in Palm Beach, and he's on Palm Beach Island. Showed me where you were, and I'm like, dude, this guy's like 3 minutes from where I live. He's like, well, I'm going to be there Sunday doing an interview with him. Why don't you come on over? And connected you and I, and this is my first time meeting you guys.
Yeah, when you said you were 4 minutes away, I said, wow. I thought it was like out by you.
No, they're right there on the Intercoastal, right there in High Palexo.
Okay, so now what do you do, Dan?
So I have a federal prison consulting company. I work with first-time nonviolent offenders, white-collar individuals that are getting ready to potentially go into the prison system. Maybe they were just indicted, they're under federal investigation, and they have no idea what to expect. Their only reality is probably, the TV show Oz or Locked Up Abroad, beatings, rapes, extortions, torture. That's what they think it's going to be like. So we work with them on removing all of the fear factors for anybody that's, going to go into the prison system for the first time for something nonviolent. There's really very little risk as far as, danger. It's more of what you can do right now to shorten your sentence, focus on accountability, what you should be talking to your attorney about, things you should tell your children, just kind of how to prepare to actually shorten your sentence possibly before you even go by mitigating.
Right. And we had talked about this earlier today, is that the U.S. attorneys, a lot of times, they're not really listening to, or they don't pay attention to what like the reality of the case may be. And then the defense attorney that you hire is in cahoots with them.
What? I didn't say cahoots, but I mean,
okay. I'm saying cahoots.
I mean, there are. I think there are times that they're in a way working together.
Okay,
sure.
I'll word it differently. Okay, so sometimes you hire a defense attorney, right? And he's going to be in South Florida 3 times a week with cases.
Yeah. They're just churning them out. They're not really necessarily looking out for your best interest. Not typically. Well, whatever. I don't know what the percentage is. The percentage. Sometimes you get a good one, you get a bad one. All attorneys are not the same. You have to be proactive in your defense. Like, you can't expect, I gave my attorney 50 grand, he's going to look out for me. He may not. The more time he spends focusing on your case, the quicker that retainer disappears. If you've got 200 hours of audio tape that's been whatever, wires, like your 200 hours worth of your cell phones, that means he has to listen to, it takes 200 hours to listen to 200 hours. You gave him 50 grand, very quickly he's working for free. His billable hours are $200-300 an hour. You give him 50 grand, he's got 200 hours. Listen, he's halfway through and your money's gone. So it's almost impossible for them to really unless you're a multimillionaire, for you to pay enough attorneys to really do a good job on your case. And most guys will give their attorneys some money and then think, oh, he's handling it. But you really have to be proactive. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, you may have a different opinion of that.
Well, and then reading from what you do is that you kind of give the person who's indicted kind of like, look, you want to, you know, tell your defense attorney to do this or to do that, because they're not going to do it on their own.
Yeah, helping a defendant holding their attorney to a level of accountability is definitely part of it. But the misconception I think a lot of individuals have of hiring an attorney versus having an appointed attorney, federal side versus state side. If you have a state appointed attorney, like a public defender, is not the same thing as having a federally appointed attorney in the Fed side. Most federal appointed attorneys, especially if they work for the criminal justice office directly, they're probably going to be better in many cases than a private attorney you'd go out and hire, unless you're spending millions of dollars on your attorney. But if you're spending anywhere from 50 grand to 100 grand for a private federal attorney, and you can actually qualify for a federally appointed attorney, you're probably guaranteed to end up with the same outcome, because anybody that's been through the federal system knows the feds don't come knocking on your door unless it's, you know, they've got some concrete evidence against you or conspiracies, people are telling on you. So the advice I give to many of my clients is, all right, you're not innocent. You know, let's stop focusing on the fact that somebody told on you, or this isn't fair, or, you know, you didn't murder anybody, you didn't rape anybody. The reality is you did something that put yourself into this situation. Your attorney's telling you to take a plea deal very early on, and your mindset is, man, my attorney just wants me to roll over and take this plea. It's like they don't even want to work for me. That's probably one of the big arguments we hear, and it's the deniability in their mind, thinking I just can't even. It doesn't matter if I'm looking at 1 year or 20 years at this point. Any amount of time in prison is unfathomable for somebody going through it initially. So helping them understand that, hey, if you don't want to go to prison and you don't have a minimum mandatory, just because you have a guideline range that says the judge is recommended to sentence you between this and this, the judge can go below that. But what are you going to do right here and now for the next several months to potentially a year before you go in front of that judge that's going to give that judge something that they've never seen before? Well, you know, I'm out on pretrial probation right now, and haven't had any dirty UAs. I'm maintaining a job. I'm staying out of trouble. It's like,
that's just a normal citizen.
Yeah,
now you're just being a decent citizen. That doesn't change anything.
Now you're just not doing anything wrong.
You don't get a pat on the back for that.
Yeah.
Right? So what are you doing different than all the other guys that are in the same, all the other really good people just like you? And this is where we start creating some difference and giving the judge something to see. You know, we've hired a substance abuse professional that works with all of our clients. We hired an attorney that works with our clients. We've hired a personal life coach that does mindset coaching / life coaching, but not just to like tell you how to feel better and things you can be doing. There's reports that are created at the end of all of this that go to the sentencing judge showing, Your Honor, you know, we've been working with Mr. Cox now for a year and a half. And when Mr. Cox came to us, these are what he was struggling with. He didn't really think that he did anything wrong. He was taking acceptance of responsibility for the main purpose of he wants a shorter sentence. Convincing this judge that you're actually sorry and remorseful for the situation you put you and your others in. And when somebody says, oh, well, there's no victims in my crime. Absolutely, in my opinion, no such thing as a victimless crime, because if you're married, if you have a mother, a father, a son, a daughter, these people, you've turned them into victims of your crime. They may not be what we see as a victim, but the fact that they don't know what to tell you, they don't want to see you go to prison. You know, you get a 5 to 10 year sentence and your mother's 80 years old, that could be a death sentence for her. She may never see you again. So these are victims you need to identify. And once the accountability really sets in, man, you see people like move mountains and they end up with probation when they should have gone to prison.
And when you say about the appointed lawyer is just as good as sometimes a 100K lawyer in the federal system.
Yes.
Would you agree that that's because once that appointed attorney gets a reputation, now they can start charging the 100K? Or I mean, why do you think they work so hard?
They don't. That's the problem. Is there's no difference. I'll give you 100 clients, 50 of them with an appointed attorney, 50 of them with a private attorney, and they all have the same arguments. My attorney doesn't call me back. My attorney's dropping the ball on this. My attorney still hasn't sent me my pre-sentence report. What am I paying this money for? The illusion is coming on a white horse with a sword and slay the head off the dragon. A 50K attorney And how much did you pay? Private attorney or
Well, I've
appointed
been in
attorney?
trouble multiple times. My first time was $75,000.
Okay.
75,000. When I went in, he convinced me that I was facing prison time. Pulled out the sentencing guidelines, went
Right.
through the whole thing. I gave him $75,000, and he miraculously, well, that's a hard word to say. He miraculously basically worked for me and managed to get me 3 years paper. Then after being through the system, after now knowing how to read the sentencing guidelines, I was never facing prison. So I paid you $75,000 to plead me out, which I was always going to plead out. I was never going to go to trial. It was always plead me out. And I could have gone with a public defender and they would have pled me out.
And
So
saved the 75K.
saved the 75 grand.
Exactly what Dan's saying right
I mean,
there.
we have clients that are literally mortgaging their houses, borrowing money. And of course, when you call the attorney that you're going to potentially hire, when I went through my federal case, I was appointed a federal attorney named Dennis O'Brien. Great guy. Everything was going fantastic. I went through my whole proffer session. Everything was great. He's like, all right, we got your plea deal on the table. And I was like, well, what is it? He goes, I was at a level, what's called a level 37, base offense level for 37, after being given acceptance of responsibility.
Whoa.
After all of this.
You were still at 37 after
Still,
all that?
still at
Whoa.
37 after that for the amount of pills. I worked for a doctor that was overprescribing pain narcotics. And the pill count was so absorbently high, they charged me and every other individual in the conspiracy with the same quantity of pills. Every prescription that doctor wrote for that course of time, we all got hit with the same thing. So it was a 52 count indictment. I mean, ridiculous.
So was it like a pill mill?
Yeah, in pill mill, exactly.
Okay.
Pill mill, Savannah, Georgia. Actually, my co-defendant, Sean Clark, who I love to say his name, my co-defendant, Sean Clark, was one of the owners of East Health Center. Nice guy. Got along just great. I knew exactly what I was getting into. I wasn't naive. But what was promised to me by him, 10 grand a month, which is not a lot in retrospect, but at the time of my life, I mean, you guaranteed 10 grand a month, all expenses paid. We're going to move you to Georgia, bring your girlfriend, bring your best friend. I was like, well, I don't have any, I have zero medical experience, Sean. Don't worry. We're going to bring people that are going to teach you and train you.
But why did he want you though?
The reason why they wanted me was I was renting space inside of his Boca Raton call center. They were selling like magazine subscriptions or some bullshit. And I had a credit repair company, which is another bullshit, quick way to try to make money. I was renting space from them. They saw how I was with people. They saw that I wasn't a drug addict. They saw that I showed up to work on time, and they saw that I was decent enough to talk to people. So behind closed doors, we're like, hey, I bet we can get this guy to come here and run this pain clinic. And when shit goes down,
Yeah.
we'll just kind of drop everything on his shoulders.
Clean cut white guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it makes
Speaks
it
well.
makes it look more legit.
Right.
Right.
So I take the job. And I'm like, this is great. I'm like, when do I start at the office? They're like, well, before we open the office, we got to do these other things first. I'm like, what do you need to do? We're going to do some aggressive marketing. They had me driving around with other individuals to other pain clinics, renting hotels with walkie-talkies. One guy would be in the hotel room with binoculars, watching people driving from other
Was this
states.
American Pain?
This all of them. And it was big in Jacksonville. We'd
Oh,
go
yeah.
to this giant Jacksonville. I think the George brothers owned it. We'd
Yeah.
go to this giant office in
It's American
Jacksonville.
Pain.
We'd
It
watch.
is.
We'd watch people come from Ohio and wherever the f they were coming from. As soon as they'd leave, the pain clinic, our job was to chase them down in the car, swerve them off the road, get out and go, hey, next time you want to come get your pills, stop at this place in Savannah, Georgia, because we're right off
Wait, you guys
I-95.
had binocular,
Dude, it was like
snipers.
Yes, we were like little kids with walkie-talkies.
Yeah. And I wrote a story called Pain, which is about this guy, Derek Nolan. The George brothers owned his place, but Derek Nolan ran the place.
Mhm.
He used to tell me guys would come and they'd put flyers on the cars, and then they'd grab the flyers and go to their clinic, and they'd go in. I ever find another fucking flyer in here? These guys are like, what are you doing?
Oh, they were
Wait.
making money. Yeah,
But
that's what we were doing.
They're like little thugs. They're all thugs. They're getting into fights in the parking lot.
See, I was too smart for that though. Never once did I ever have an interaction because I wouldn't.
I could see Sean doing it though.
No, Sean, are you kidding? Sean never got his hands dirty. The only time Sean got his hands dirty was when he would come into the office in the middle of the day, high as a kite, and break into the safe and take all the money and leave. That's the only time Sean got his hands dirty.
Oh wow.
I'm telling, look, I am not one to throw people under the bus, but this guy,
And that's your co-defendant, right?
he's
He's
my
a big
co-defendant,
guy.
who I
He's a
thought
big
was my
guy, though.
friend. I thought he was my friend.
Hmm.
Oh,
And
God,
found out.
there's
my
That's
life.
not even
Listen.
because he told on me. Look, we
Yeah.
all told on each other.
There's no friend.
It wasn't even about that. We all do what we had to do to shorten our sentences. There was no walking away from this thing unscathed. Only one person in the whole conspiracy went to trial, and there's two doctors. One doctor went to trial. The other doctor took a plea deal. The doctor took the plea deal, got the same sentence as me, 42 months. And the doctor that went to trial lost and got 11 years. And he's out now because of the CARES Act, COVID-19. He's on home confinement for the next several years. But he's out of prison.
11 years. He probably got lucky.
Oh, he did.
At 11.
He did. He was looking at...
Only because he's a doctor and he had probably such a stellar reputation.
Yeah.
If it was you and went to trial, what would you have gotten?
I don't know. He didn't have a good reputation. His nickname his name was Dr. Hazmat, but he was known as Dr. Hazmat. They even called him Dr. Hazmat at trial. The prosecutor
I laughed
did.
at that one.
Yeah. But anyway, man, it was just, I knew what I was doing. I got myself into a situation. I looked the other way, turned a blind eye like many people do that are finding themselves in a situation right now. Usually you can see some red flags that you could have avoided.
So there was actually people with binoculars waiting for
still
someone. I'm still on the
Yeah.
binocular things,
Yeah.
waiting for people to come to get pills.
Yep.
And then you would basically
Chase them down.
almost extort them and say,
Well, we just
or
chase
like
them down and
bum
say,
rush them and say, look,
we wanted to have a grand opening with patients at the door. We didn't want to have to market after the fact.
yeah,
And it worked. I mean, the day we opened our pain clinic, because you can only get your prescriptions filled every 30 days. So we're saying, instead of driving all the way to Jacksonville next time, stop off in Savannah. We'll give you a discount on your first visit. And our doctor writes heavy. That we were quoted to say that.
Right.
Now check this out. The doctor that went to trial and lost, the reason he went to trial, he only worked there 3 days. He got fired after 3 days. Sean.
Wait, the one that with the trial?
Yes.
Still got 11 years.
He worked there for 3 days.
And got 11 years.
Got 11 years. Sean calls me up and says, I'm getting complaints that Dr. Hazmat doesn't write heavy enough. I need you to go in there.
Dr. Hazmat.
He says, I need you to go in there and handle this. I'm like, handle what? I knock on his door, all professional. I was like, Mr. Hazmat, we're getting complaints. Man, this guy, Indian guy, lost it on me and said, it's not your DA license on the line. It's my license. I write what I think. I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. And then when I told Sean, get him the fuck out of there, fire him. So we fired him. And they came back and he got hit on the indictment,
after 3 days.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Feds don't play, bro.
It's horrible.
So what was your role there exactly?
The official title was office manager, but it was really like scapegoat bitch. It was whatever we can make you look like the front man on cameras. It was just, they had me on video giving an undercover police officer, an undercover Chatham Narcotic Divisions officer pills because we'd found pills laying in one of the patient rooms and we didn't know what to do with them. We stuck them in a pill bottle in the back. This undercover agent comes in that I'm not going to say any names on this one because I don't know who was the inside guy that set this up, but I think it's the same person we've already been talking about. Guy comes in, says we're going to rent you a space in Georgia, another office. I want to make sure the operation's legit before I agree to rent you guys my space. I want to see it. He keeps asking me, is there any way I can see your doctor? Will your doctor write me a prescription? I said, he doesn't do that unless you got like an MRI and you got something wrong with you. Ask the doctor. Doctor says no. So eventually he's like, I hurt my back playing golf. I'm like, well, he goes, I left my prescription in Jacksonville. It's like, well, what do you normally take? And he tells me, I'm like, I got a couple in the back you can have. I'll meet you outside and go outside, give him, I don't know, it was like 3 or 4, I forgot it was Percocets or something. Not really thinking anything of it. And the whole thing was on video.
They need you to be doing something that looks illegal.
That's
which is illegal.
It was illegal. I was distributing a Schedule II
but
drugs.
You're thinking, I'm just doing them a favor. It's not a big
And they
deal.
thought this was like, we had some big, when they hit us, they thought they were going to find like the McDonald's of pills just hidden in a safe and millions of dollars. They came in and found no pills and maybe $300 in the safe. My girlfriend was involved. She got indicted. She's actually the one that they arrested her first because I was in another area and they brought her back to the pain clinic. The female agent didn't want anybody to know because there was people waiting to go in and see the doctor that morning. So they didn't want them to know that there were cops going in with them. So she took her gun and put it in Shelly's purse, my girlfriend's purse, and had Shelly walking in with the purse with an agent's gun. As soon as I got all the patients in, they locked the door and they said, FBI, everybody, and they arrested everybody in there. And that's how they got so many people to cooperate because these people just said what they wanted them to say. End of the day, I will be completely transparent. I've got no reason to lie. We didn't break any laws. I can tell you that. There was not a law broken. Every person that came in there had a legit MRI, and if they didn't have one, we sent them packing. The doctor did not overprescribe, but
It was that era of the pill mill, right?
there was no way to win it.
So,
In the
yeah.
Bible Belt, we opened in the worst place you could possibly open.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think that was the greatest place to open
It was
up.
because Florida just changed their laws where you could not write prescriptions and fulfill in the same facility.
With the ID, right?
Mhm.
They started tracking it.
I couldn't write you a prescription and fill it for you right here. They had to be separately owned.
Oh,
That was something that just passed in Florida in 2011-ish. So Georgia hadn't passed that yet. So they moved to Georgia because you could write the prescription and fill it right there. But we didn't get our prescriptions. Our pedigree order was taking forever. So thank God we didn't have pills on site, or else it would have been
a whole
a different
mess.
nightmare. Yeah.
So you think it was a setup from the beginning when you went to Georgia?
So they didn't. You mean from those guys? No,
Yeah.
not yet. So Dr. Asmat, the doctor was only there 3 days. Come to find out, he'd worked at several other places first that he'd got in trouble at. He was going from pain clinic to pain clinic, working at these places. So when they interviewed him, Sean or whoever else interviewed this guy, I think they found him on fucking Craigslist, and they hire a doctor
On
off
Craigslist?
Of, yeah, it was like the reconnaissance, the background that they should have done.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, listen, that's the same thing. Like
That's what
American
happens
Pain.
when
It's
when
the same-
bozos go into business and think they're mafioso wannabes, open a business. This is how it ends every single time. So crime doesn't pay, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it's funny. I've met a bunch of doctors too when I was locked up that would plead guilty because they just, even though they would sit there and go, but I mean, I did everything that I was supposed to do. I did this and this and this, and then they indicted me. And I'm like, well, then why didn't you go to trial? Because they had all these guys saying that I knew this and I knew that and I didn't know this and I didn't know that, and I was just, I mean, like how am I supposed to know if he's a drug addict? He didn't say any of the key things he's supposed to say. So they would take pleas for 3-4 years.
They would.
Yeah.
And there's usually some writing on, like when you really start talking to these people one-on-one privately, if you ask them, what would you do differently if you were to do it all over again? They can usually make some corrective behaviors. Like we had a client, Hunter Moore, revenge porn king.
Oh, tell me about that.
Oh, he'd be great to have on your show.
Just throwing porn king in there. It sounds
Yeah,
good.
it's like,
he was the guy that started a website. I think it was called Are You Up Yet, or Are You Still Up?
Are you up yet?
And he would basically, you and your girlfriend have, a fun video that you made together, and you break up, and it's on your phone. You own the video. You're like, this bitch. You send it to Hunter, and Hunter posted it up on his website, and he gets millions of views trashing your girl. Well, they eventually hit him on an indictment saying that, he hacked somebody's to get the private information. But
I'd be more worried about getting killed.
He's one of those guys that doesn't seem to care,
What do you think your girlfriend would do?
Oh, bro, my girlfriend, she'd shoot me from a distance and
And
feed
not
me to the
miss.
alligators.
Yeah.
And nobody find the body.
His girlfriend is the complete opposite of him.
She was in the military. She got out. She ran hog hunting tours where she takes groups of guys to go hog hunting for 7 years.
Now, Dan, listen to
I
this.
didn't even know that was a
Now,
thing.
Dan, listen to this. You're talking to Matt Cox right now. His girlfriend went on a hog hunting tour.
Not went. She ran them for 7 years.
Oh, I'm sorry, ran them.
Listen, I got pictures of
Hey,
her
look, I don't want no problems.
gutting
to your
hogs,
girlfriend.
cutting the skin off.
And she's in Tampa?
Yeah,
No?
I'm sitting. We're watching a movie one night, and I got a phone call, and some guy calls her, and she's like, "Right? No." And she goes, the hide's just a little bit thicker. No, it's just like skinning a hog. I look at her, and she goes, okay.
I know if I need to bury a body, who I'm calling.
She goes, I'll go in the other room. She goes, I go, what was that? She goes, oh, it's my friend so and so. Like, she's like, you got to skin a gator. He had to skin a gator. She's so, it's no different than skinning a hog. I explained him, and I'm sitting there going, the fuck is going on? I mean, this is a tough chick, bro.
How did you meet her, if you don't mind me asking?
What do you mean? I met her in the halfway house. What are you talking about? She was in the halfway house with
Oh,
me.
she did.
She was in Coleman. She got out. She had just
What
done,
did she do?
drug conspiracy.
Okay.
She was, she was on a drug conspiracy.
Halfway house is a whole nother topic. I'd rather do some extra month or so or 2 months than hit the halfway house.
I said the same thing. I would rather have done all my time in prison and been released. And had I had somewhere to go and some money, I would have done that. But I needed the halfway house.
Now, why do you two say that? Why do you two say well,
So
like
much more obtrusive.
So-
and it's just so much more oversight and
The illusion of halfway
rules.
house is everybody in prison tells you the minute you get to the halfway house, as long as you have a job, you go right to home confinement.
Not true.
That's the illusion. The reality is you can't do more than 10% of your sentence on home confinement unless you qualify for something called FLM, Federal Location Monitoring, where you're on an ankle monitor, but it's got to be some severe reasons, like your mom's dying of cancer and you need to be there. You're not doing more than 10%. So in a situation like mine, I was given 42 months. So reality is I can only do, 4 months.
And I'm sorry, Dan. So what was your actual charge that you pled to and then got sentenced to the 42 months?
Conspiracy to distribute. They gave me 1 count of conspiracy and they dropped the other 50.
Of the, what, a Schedule 2 substance?
Yeah. Well, they didn't know it. So it was just, I only got conspiracy. It wasn't conspiracy to anything.
How the hell were you at 37 at that?
Oh, because of
pill,
no.
Pill count, right?
Yeah. Once.
Oh, the pill count.
Yeah. The pill count. The pill count of the 1.
That's a high number. What were you? How high were you?
Me?
Yeah.
I was at, my PSI said I was at, was it 40 or 30? Was it 39 or 41, something like that? But keep in mind, I'd also been in trouble before, so I was in category 3. They also bumped me a category because I was on federal probation when I committed the additional crime, something called recency, which they don't do anymore. Like I have all these things that they hit me for that they all took off of the federal guidelines. They were like, that's too strict. Yeah, but I got hit with them. So
Yeah.
I had a whole bunch of extra stuff. My PSI said 32 years to life for
it's scary
filling out paperwork.
When you see those numbers on, like, when my pre-sentence report came back, we did 2 of them. We did one that was the real one, and then my attorney hired an ex-probation guy that used to do them to do a mock-up one just to kind of see. And he gave 3 scenarios. One of the scenarios had a life sentence on there, and I'm like, how is this possible? In what universe does this make sense? Like, I've been out on pre-trial now for 2 years. How are you going to send me to prison for the rest of my life?
And that person doing the PSI, correct me if I'm wrong, they're not the ones who investigated you.
No,
they just read the paperwork and they come up with a conclusion.
I don't even think there is a real investigation done.
Yeah.
Prior to you getting arrested, that's the only investigation, and all that is watching you until you make a mistake, so they have some evidence against you. But the investigation report, like on your background, I think it's just all factual data they pull from, like your credit and NCIC check and LexisNexis type stuff. I don't believe there's anybody sitting there with like typing in, let's see what he's doing, let's look him up on Facebook. I don't think it exists.
Plus your Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, I was gonna say mine was pretty extensive. Like they talked.
Well, they were profiling you.
Yeah,
they
talked to my family. They talked to my sister. They talked to my mother, my father. Like they talked to like everybody. And co-defendants, like there was this whole thing that was extensive, but that's because I had so much publicity. Most guys get the cursory kind of rubber stamp thing.
But you turned that publicity into a horse. You're like on it now with like a sword. Like,
but at the time when he was doing it, he was basically telling him to fuck off. You're not going to catch me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Matt that sits here now that was then. I mean, he was telling him.
But the moment those cuffs went on, I was like, what do you want to know? I'm so sorry.
Dude, the comments are hilarious. Watching the comments because you're so like cavalier about it. Like, yeah.
Oh, what are you talking about, Big Herc?
Oh, just your interviews in general. Like, I don't even think a lot of people realize when you're talking that you're telling them how you told on people. You say it so like the weather. And I'm listening. But
he doesn't care.
You should be. The people that care, they're the ones that are doing it.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Right,
it's so easy to like. Oh, I would never. I would never.
Look, you're a badass working in your fucking job at Walmart. But the moment they put those cuffs in and you're in that cell and you realize you're never seeing your girlfriend again or your mother and you're looking at 30 years and you're like, all I did was drive the car.
I believe the percentage. I believe the percentage of people that wouldn't tell. I mean that wouldn't tell unless there's a difference. If Matt's family, if they were like, if you tell, we're going to come kill your wife and kids, he may not have told then, but that's like a reason. People in that situation that wouldn't tell might be 1%.
Yeah, I don't have a co-defendant that didn't tell. I mean, when I got picked up and grabbed and they sat me down, they walked in with a fucking stack of 302s. I had ex-girlfriends calling up saying they just wanted to let them know things that they knew. It's like, you're not even involved. What do you
when you say 302, what exactly is a 302?
It's an FBI 302 it's basically like a memorandum of an interview or an event that occurred. Like if they got a phone call or they talked to an actual person or they heard from another agency. Basically they they build their case by 302. So you can basically read the 302s, and it's a day by day, it's a chronological order of anything that's occurred in the case.
And you'll see that like in your geez, my mind just went dead. In your discovery,
right?
You know, you'll see.
Yeah,
that
do you
people,
see that a lot, Dan, when you're looking over these? The
Yeah,
302s?
every agency has a different one. There's
We-
the DEA.
I do have
6s.
clients that are you know, actively working for agents to build additional cases. That won't come out that they did that. It will come out that you know, an informant.
That stays sealed
Yeah,
until
that's-
it's all over. But
Even when it's all over,
it still is
unless the person goes to trial and they have to testify,
It's
then
like 10 days prior or something like that, they have to give it to them or
Yeah,
some sort of.
then the name will become released. But if not, nobody will ever. Cause I mean, dude, some of these people, the people they're telling on, it's like every time he gets a phone call or knock on his door, he thinks they found out and they're there to like kill him. We're talking like cartels,
heavy hitters,
oh,
yeah, guys you don't want.
stuff
that
nightmares
problem
are made of. You
Yeah.
know, and they would make you regret everything. You know, oof, sends chills. You know, I never had to deal with any of that.
So then you have the 302, and then you got the 35.
The Rule
what-
35.
Yeah.
what is
No, I
that?
was
35B.
saying that every agency has their own form. Like you have a DEA 6, and you have the Secret Service has an MOI. Like they all have their own name of the form.
But it's all kind of the same
It's all the
thing.
same thing.
So they just name it different
Yeah.
per agency, is what you're saying.
But what-
kind of.
What I think what you're getting at is that people that typically, like if you get arrested and you cooperate, typically you can get a sentence reduction. Like at sentencing, you get a 5K1. If it's after you've been sentenced, they use information that you provided them, and you've been in jail for 2 years, and suddenly they
Rule
indict
35.
somebody, then it's a Rule 35.
And it's got to be different. It can't be somebody like if you and I are on the same case, I'm not going to get a 35 for that. If I know that Matt's over here also running they don't know about Matt, and I bring them to Matt and it ends in a conviction or a plea deal or whatever, then I can Rule 35.
But if you're on the same case, it would be a 5K1 or.
You're not gonna, I've never seen a 35 on the same case. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen.
I have, only because the guy was sentenced, and then later evidence he gave on someone later after the guy was sentenced, they then indicted that person. They hadn't indicted him prior. They then eventually his information led to an indictment.
Okay.
And he got in trouble.
Yeah.
So I see I mean, I know what you're saying.
I think as long as information leads to something that they didn't already have knowledge about, you can Rule 35 it.
Right. Yeah. This guy actually, he just got sentenced right away. So it did take a while.
Okay.
Do you know have you read his books or some of the things that he's?
I haven't read his books, but I've watched a lot of the I've watched the American Greed did a couple different Bonnie and Clyde.
I couldn't find his he
Yeah,
had to send me the file.
Yeah, I have a copy of the American Greed. Oh, did you watch the one where I did it with Danny then?
The girl. It was a girl. Who was the girl? There was
Rebecca
Bonnie.
blonde hair girl?
Who was Bonnie?
Rebecca Howe.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one. I was actually watching it this morning.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd you get it?
Yeah. How'd you get it? Because
I
looked for
googled.
it
I
forever.
googled.
I had to get the actual file from him.
Oh, my phone's over there. I googled Matthew Cox American Greed, and boom, there it came. I had pictures.
I don't know how the hell you got
I had
that.
It must
pictures-
have just come up.
It had pictures of all like a million different IDs you had.
Wait. So you typed in his name, American Greed, and you could actually watch the episode?
Yes. Well, I don't know if the episode was there. It was like clips.
Oh, okay.
No, those are there. You're right. You're right. Yeah, those are
Man,
little,
I thought,
like a
I
minute
thought
here,
I
2
found
minutes
something
here.
nobody ever found before.
No.
Yeah, no.
The full
Yeah, no, the full one. I don't know.
used to be on
why.
Hulu, and then Concrete. We did one where Danny and I watched the whole thing, and I kind of just narrate like that didn't happen, that happened. That's taken out of context, but doesn't mean I'm not still a scumbag.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff.
I saw a comment. Somebody commented and said Matt should change his name to, and they made Mr. 305 worldwide, Mr. Rule 35.
Yeah.
Listen, the
No, but
comments are hilarious.
Well, you know what?
It's your
They fucked
thing.
him on that American Greed. If he has the file, they fucked
course.
him because I've been around him enough to know that. I mean, Matt is very interesting.
Have you
different
ever seen an
individual.
American Greed where it was like in the favor of the criminal?
Well, I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? Because I don't know the person,
Right.
but I know Matt, and I know that he's a narcissistic. What's that word? Narcissistic bipolar disorder?
No, bipolar, megalomaniac. What? It's just a narcissist.
No, narcissistic disorder or something. MPI. Anyway, there's a name for it. So in other words, if I ask Matt something, he's going to tell me because he doesn't give a fuck.
That's why I thought he was full of craziness when I
'cause was
first
just
talked to him.
openly like, oh yeah, this is what
Yeah.
happened. Boom,
It was
boom,
just
boom,
the
boom,
stuff
boom.
sounded so like.
I'm sorry,
There's
guys.
no way this could happen.
Narcissistic personality disorder. That's
Oh,
the
okay.
fucking name.
It's fine.
But every single word that Matt told me is proven to be 100% true.
Me
And
too.
it's a fucking hell of a story, man. Are you allowed to curse on this?
Yeah,
Okay.
fuck yeah.
Okay, I got to make sure.
I
You
don't
never
give a
know.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck. I mean, I've been trying to clean it up a little bit because, you know,
Yeah,
I
I
slip
have to
up.
say
I
the
slip
F
up
word a
every
little
once in a
bit.
while.
It was mind-boggling. And the thing with watching the Big Herc episode, I've unless this guy did zero research on you before you came, it's like, what did you think he was going to say when you ask him, what advice would you have for somebody? It's like, you kind of opened a big door there. And also, I know that guy. He will not post videos if it's something that he doesn't approve of. I don't think he thought the comments were going to go the way they went.
Oh no,
Comments were very favorable to Matt. And they were not favorable because Big Hurt got so upset and
Listen.
And he's like, this interview is going really bad.
You know what's so funny is that literally I would have really, because I've had those conversations hundreds of times in federal prison, like in prison with guys,
Right.
arguing with them. And literally, I don't know if you understand this or you realize it watching the video. You don't realize how agitated he was. So I didn't push back and really start slamming, like really start going, oh, well, this is like, you know, when he starts in with his hypotheticals,
Yeah.
like I didn't really start pushing back because there was a couple times where I was thinking, this guy might swing on me. And when they had to cut, like they kept, you know, every 30 minutes the thing would stop, right?
Because he uses a DSLR
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah.
So when
I learned that lesson the hard way.
they had to stop it. So when they stopped it, he literally had to get up off the couch and would walk around. He was so upset. Then he'd come back and sit down. And I was like,
am I going to get beat up today?
How far do I push this to the brink where he might swing, where I can argue enough? But the truth is, if I really go in hard with the facts, I'm going to make you look pretty bad. Like I'm going to make you look bad. And I know that.
And that's not what will make the final edit. Is the problem.
His go-to move, a guy like that's go-to move is violence. And I just remember thinking, I'm not in a position to go toe-to-toe with this guy's fucking 260 pounds. He works. Every time I've talked to him, he's in the gym. His cameraman is as terrifying looking as he is.
That's his partner, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
His
I would have loved to have been in that chair when Matt didn't push back because he pushes
Oh,
back.
when
We did
listen.
Amadeo. We did Frank Amadeo, which was a great story. It's insanity. We did Boziak, Bent.
But, you know,
Uh-huh.
That's a monster.
Yeah, you
But
don't
with
want to
me,
argue with me.
He'll
you don't want-
argue
you
with
don't
me all
ar-
day long and all night.
Yeah, but especially this, because the fact of the matter is that the scenario that you're painting is a society you don't really want to live in.
Right.
That's the truth of it is. The truth of it is anybody can go do anything they want and nobody cooperates with authorities.
And he wasn't in a position to cooperate. I'm not going to say he would.
No, you're right. And that's the great thing. I always find these guys that like they robbed somebody alone and don't really have anyone to cooperate
nowhere to
against.
go.
And then they're snitches. But it's like, well, wait a second. You didn't have an opportunity.
Right.
And you weren't really facing that much time. You see what I'm saying? Also, it's like you know, and this is the other thing. If you're living by the code, okay, so the guys that did snitch on you, did you kill them? Did you get out and kill them? Because that's the code you want to live by. Did you get out and murder these guys? Well, I don't. Stop it then.
The
Stop.
reality
But
is
then-
he's
but
got
then-
you on the show and he knows what you did prior to bringing you on the show.
And then in the comments, he said he didn't. But the truth is, we talked on the phone. He said, yeah, I've watched a bunch of your stuff. I'd love to have you on the show. Then I got on the show and he acts shocked. It's like, come on, bro. You told me you knew my
I
fucking-
don't know the guy, but I agree with what he said. If he is acting like a gangster, then he would have made a move, right?
I mean, thank God he didn't, bro. He beat me
I'm
around
not
like
saying
a
on
small
you. I'm
child.
saying
It'd
in
be
general.
horrible.
I'm saying.
I think it would have been pretty awesome to take a black guy from Herc, you know, as long as it's
I
on
think he
video.
would- he
Please, I hope you got that on
I
video.
mean,
Killed
hey,
me.
props to Big Herc. I don't know him.
my God,
I
he's a
mean,
big.
I honestly like
guy.
him. His name, what's his real name?
Eric something. I think it's Eric.
He's
something.
actually he's.
He
I don't
has
think
a
he's
good message.
Yeah, I
He
don't
has
think
a
he's
good
as much of a
heart.
gangster as his show comes off because I've seen he's got another channel about like reconditioning cars and he's got these like super hot rod muscle cars that he completely rehauls and it's a completely different persona,
Feeling,
and a feeling like very like, you know, cookie cutter white collary. And then there's that show, which is all about like, you know, busting cheeks and
is that how it is?
What, the show?
Yeah.
Well, he gets these guys on there that it's funny because I've watched these interviews and it's so funny to hear these guys talk about, yeah, and they caught me with this many keys and I got this much time. It's like, whoa, wait a second. In the federal system, you got that much? And they go, so I did this time and this federal system says, whoa, if you were on a 10-kilo conspiracy,
Oh, you're done.
your minimum mandatory was 20-something years.
Yeah.
How'd you get 10? Herc doesn't ever ask because he's like, I don't know nothing about that. Well, wait a second. You got a guy sitting here who clearly cooperated, but you're not saying anything. So you've got multiple people cooperate. You don't want to know. He just didn't expect me to say anything.
Right. Yeah, you definitely threw him for a loop.
And I'm not going to shy away from it. You don't get
Yeah.
to snitch on people and then curve. You're like, I could curve it a little. I can throw a little boom. Oh yeah, I filed 2255. No, boom, 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 got my thing. I could do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing it. I have nothing to be
Yeah,
ashamed
you can
of.
put a little bit of a layer on top of it.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
could smooth it. Oh, I could smooth it, or I could just say, "Hey, yeah, I got 26 years, and then I met this guy. He's filed a 2255, and he got me some time off, and then this, and then and Herc would say nothing because he doesn't really. He either knows and doesn't say anything, or he just doesn't know.
And it really does. Seeing how Herc will react to a snitch or something. For somebody that might be one of my clients that's getting ready to go in for like the first time to, less than 5 years for some kind of a white collar crime, they hear Herc talking about, snitches and busting cheeks. And as soon as we find them, they think that's where they're going. So they're terrified. They're scared to like cooperate. They're scared to get a 5K1. And I have to try to explain to them. It's like, dude, it doesn't happen in a camp. It doesn't really happen in a low security. No one's checking your paperwork in there.
Not just that, you may be better off cooperating because guess what? You may go to Coleman, where you've got 50% of the guys are sex offenders, and then 50% of those guys that are left, 95% cooperated. Okay, so now you're down to basically you've got 4 guys per unit that didn't cooperate, and those guys you can tell pretty quick because those are the guys that went to trial.
Yeah.
So it's like you're sitting
10% at best.
Yeah.
You're
And
sitting,
no one's asking for paperwork. No one's saying,
of course
"Let me see
not.
your
Well,
pre-sentence report."
You had said that you can't have the paperwork.
well, you're not
anymore, right?
supposed. You can get it.
Okay,
sent in.
so this is what
Yeah.
attorneys will tell you. Attorneys, if a client says to their attorney, "Well, I've heard they're going to check my paperwork, want to see my PSR," the attorney's response will be, "Well, it's against BOP policy to have a copy of your PSR." The reality is if you're in like a medium or a higher security, whoever's checking you is going to say, "Hey, you've got this many days to get me a copy." And they'll tell you how to get it. They'll say, have your attorney send you some legal paper, and in page like 14, slide in a page of this, and this will show us what we need to see. I know a guy that runs a service for guys getting ready to go into the feds, and his whole service is photoshopping, doctoring PSRs to send
Really?
in
I
dirty.
used to, when I was in the medium, I changed multiple guys' paperwork in the medium.
I should have gone to federal prison for mortgage fraud for the same stuff that you went. I should have gone years ago because I've never met a mortgage broker. I was a mortgage broker for a few years, by the
They're
way.
all corrupt.
I've
yeah.
never
You were
met
a
a
mortgage broker?
Yeah, way back when. 2001, I started. I got my mortgage broker's license in Boca. I'd never met a mortgage broker or a loan originator or a realtor that has not doctored something to get the deal done. Because holy fuck, you talk about going through hurdles, and then all of a sudden a process will come back and go, well, it's right there. And it's like, Jesus Christ. All right.
Right.
Fudge.
So like if you would just fudge one thing.
It
wouldn't
wasn't
be an
like I
issue.
was,
Right.
putting you
If
in $1 million home when you
4
worked at
was a
Walmart.
6,
Yeah.
we got a loan.
Or a length of a job or, position. That was before like stated. Stated came out, and it's like, I could get your 90-year-old grandmother.
What's that status?
Stated income, stated assets.
okay.
You don't need to prove nothing. As long as you got a credit score that's worthy, boom, you say
But
it.
of course, that doesn't really exist anymore.
It
though.
doesn't exist anymore. That's what I'm saying.
Well, there's some of these programs are actually coming back, but they're more. They still ask for stuff like so many bank statements. It's close. It's not the same thing, but you still have to be like a fucking 800 credit score. You have to be stellar. It's just almost impossible.
Stated, and those what were they? The geez, it's so long now. The option arm loans. They were devised. They were devised for very short term. What were those called? Though?
What's an
It's
option
an
arm
ARM
loan?
product. It's an ARM product. It's like a 228 or a 327.
Okay, what does all that mean?
Okay, we were
I have
putting people
no
in these
idea.
loans that were completely designed for an investor. You're going to come in, buy a house with the whole mindset of, I'm going to have this house sold, flipped in a year and a half. So we're giving you this interest rate that you're paying no interest. You're paying below the interest. It goes negative every month that you make the minimum payment.
Oh yeah, that's different. Yeah,
I
that's
can't.
That's different than
So
what I'm
every
talking about.
month you make this payment. It's not even your mortgage payment. You're going negative.
Interest only.
Not even interest only. You're not even paying the interest. It's below the interest. There's a minimum payment. Now it balloons in 5 years. In 5 years, you've either had to sold it or you've refinanced it, and then all of a sudden the market crashed,
Oh,
and
you're stuck.
now you owe way more than what you owe on it, and there's no way out. This is why we saw
So in other words, all that money that you paid goes toward it doesn't go toward the principal.
It's not even. It's going towards some of the principal, but it's going negative. So you're making less of a payment than just the interest. Even you're making a lesser payment. It's called a negative amortization loan or some shit like that.
Okay.
But I should have gone to prison for that. Seeing what he got hit for, it's like somehow. Well, he
kind of
he went big time with it. He made it his thing.
Yeah, and he made it his thing to let them know that, look,
Yep.
you're not going to get me. Catch me if you can.
Oh, we were
pretty
creating.
much.
There was a time where we were doing fake social security numbers and building credit lines for people that didn't have it. And it's like looking back, it's like, what was I doing? I was just on a path to nowhere, which is why I ended up in prison.
Yeah, I mean, I just had a lender in here the other day, about 2 days ago, and right now they're doing 2-3%.
Yeah.
At 620.
I think we're going to see a massive
Well,
crash.
it's a balloon.
Yeah.
It's a balloon. You know what I mean? But the good thing for him is that, say you're 580, like he'll walk you through the steps of the way to get to 620, 630, or whatever, whatnot to buy. And he was in it. And I'm telling you, he's fucking huge. This guy, Atlantic.
Brilliant, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you need a loan, he can get you a loan.
Yeah, if you know how to manage your credit, I mean, somebody like that can like educate you on like, look, don't just.
Yeah, he deals with every state, right?
Yeah.
So he's pretty big because it's not like, okay, I need a loan, Dan. And you say, okay, well, Tom, your credit's 650. I can't help you right now. He takes the time just because he came from the old days. He's not like this age, And he says, okay, well, this is what you need to do. Go get 3 more credit cards, but leave 10% on the credit card, and then we'll build your credit, and then we'll get you a loan at 620. But I kept saying to him, I said, 3% at 620 credit. I mean, what do you think about that? And he's like, well, I mean, it's paper money right now.
Yeah.
It's inflation.
Yep.
And I couldn't believe it. And then he kept talking and kept talking, and I know who he is. And I was like, Jesus. I mean, they're really doing this. And they're going to up it. So, like, right now, I think here, at least in Florida.
It's because everyone's coming.
Yeah, well, everybody's, the traffic is terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, the snowbirds are down here, but, I mean, it's worse than...
But they're moving here, I mean, like, they're leaving places like New York to come to Florida.
Well, I mean, do you want to be shut down and not
No,
be able
that's
to
what
leave
I'm
your
saying.
house?
It's Florida's wide open.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should be up to you, what you want to do, because isn't that your amendment, right?
Oh, I love it. Are you kidding me? I think COVID's 90% fucking bullshit with the stats. Personally, I'm not a believer. Now it's benefiting my clients to get them out sooner, but there's a big difference in death by COVID and death due to
political reasons.
Well, they say this person didn't die of COVID. They'll say this person died of complications. COVID was part of it, but it's not what killed him. And then you got the crazies out there like, oh, he got shot in the head, and they said he died of COVID.
Well, because they code that.
I've heard the conspiracies on this.
What is it? For COVID?
Yeah. So no, I had a doctor in here, like not.
They would code him as a COVID death with
a
gunshot to the head.
Well, not a gunshot to the head, but let's just
somebody dies of
that's pretty extreme. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, say you go in and you have a cough or whatever, right? Now maybe you have it, maybe you don't have it, or maybe you just have the particles of COVID, but you don't actually have COVID itself.
Right.
They code it as that. Now they get $3K from the state, they get $7K from the Fed, and then another $3K, I think, from insurance. So now you're getting $13,000 as a facility,
right,
just to code the shit as COVID. And it may not be COVID, and or it may be related to something else. You know what I mean? Like you didn't get COVID just because you're healthy and walking around. Now, Matt shocked me as he plays on his phone, but Matt shocked me because this guy runs 4 miles, like I said, in 28 minutes, and I couldn't believe it lasted that long on him. But
oh yeah, I had it horrible. My ex-girlfriend, sorry, my girlfriend was over.
You better be careful with that. She'll kill your ass. She's gonna chop you up like a hog for that one. I'm not editing it, so don't ask me.
My girlfriend got over it right away, but she's younger than me. Now I know other guys that are older than me. They had it for 4 or 5 days, no big deal. But I mean, I had it for 2 weeks.
Oh yeah,
a little over 2 weeks, really.
I had it from January to March.
You had it 2 months,
bro. Thought I was done. I'd never been scared before. I thought I was done.
I told you there was one point when I was laying in bed where I was like, if I don't actually start getting better here soon, I'm gonna have to go to the hospital.
I thought I was seeing a pretend doctor because this doctor kept giving me what's the stuff, the steroids they give you when you get a flu or like pneumonia, they give you
Makes you puffy.
maybe
Prednisone.
yes, they were
Doesn't work.
He kept giving it to
Stupid.
me more because they didn't know what COVID was yet. This was in January. And
Yeah.
he's boosting me, and I'm like, man, I'm still dying.
Did you blow up like a balloon?
Dude, I was getting so fat and I couldn't
Yeah.
breathe. And finally, I'm like, I don't think this is a real doctor. I don't think this is a real prednisone. I'm Googling this guy looking for like, he doesn't have a real license somewhere.
Yeah.
This is Matt Cox. I know it.
Oh, this is Matt behind it.
This is Matt. Matt's the doctor now.
What do you write up the guy's medical certificate? Which I would
How
not
did
put
we-
it
when
past
did we
him.
start picking on me? I thought we were picking on you.
You pick on me enough.
But no, it's COVID. COVID's real. The girl that does all of our life coaching, I get a call or a text at 2 a.m. She's like, Dan, I need two clients she wanted me to call that she had appointments with the next day for coaching. She's like, I need you to call them and potentially reschedule. And it might be rescheduling, and I might have to refund you the money. And I don't know why. So she calls me the next morning. She's crying. She's at the hospital. She's like, like crying. I couldn't even understand her. I've got COVID. Can you do me a favor? Her son's in a juvenile detention right now, going through some shit. She's like, can you call Christian and tell him I love him? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. And she's like bawling. She's one of those that buys into COVID kills everybody it touches, and she doesn't leave her house. She's like got gloves on to like touch her phone, and now she's fine. But this is what the media kind of like shovels that shit out to us to feed.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's overkill.
So when I had the doctor in here, right, it actually, at first I was like, this is bullshit. But then it started to make sense. He was saying that if you're wearing a mask all the time and gloves, right, that if you're healthy, like Matt's healthy, you're healthy, I'm healthy.
Kills your immune
we
system.
think it kills your immune system.
Yeah.
So now your body can't get the opportunity to build the immune system to fight off the virus.
Common fucking sense.
Because now you have a mask on, so now it can't get to you, so the body can't learn how to do it. Now you put gloves on, which is just really weird. Right now you've protected yourself, so now when it does hit you, you have no defense mechanism against it.
Or when a regular cold hits you or a flu hits you, we're in flu season. I can only imagine every single person that gets flu symptoms right now thinks they have COVID.
Oh yeah.
Like the hospital's probably like inundated with zombies walking in.
Well, believe me, the person that's walking in there that's saying that, I think I have the flu, they're going like this.
Yeah.
Because they're going to code that as COVID.
Yeah.
You know
You're
what I
probably
mean?
right. Yeah.
I mean, Matt, in your heyday, would you code everything as COVID?
To make some extra money?
Of course.
Yeah.
I was
I mean,
already
that
thinking, I'm
was
sure
probably the dumbest question
the
I've asked in
indictments
2 months.
would be
But
coming down. Eventually will come down
Yeah.
eventually, but yeah.
Oh, we've seen tons
who
of
gets indicted?
You know how many
No,
clients we've had
man,
indicted
someday.
because of this,
Oh.
because of SBA fraud? Oh my God.
What's SBA fraud?
SBA loans that these businesses are getting? So we got an
The
SBA
small
loan.
business, yeah.
They
Small
get-
business administration loan, yeah.
Oh, I see what
They
you're
gave us $100,000 for small business. They gave me
Really?
3% interest, 30-year loan with 12 months deferment.
saying. That Trump signed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I would take that loan if I didn't need the money. That's a no-brainer
Yeah.
loan.
It's ridiculous.
But
that's a nice
people are
chunk of
going
change.
out, and there was no, I mean, it was literally an online application. They asked me for nothing. Any of those documents could have been fudged. There was no verify. I mean, it was all legit shit because I'm terrified of the government. But so many people are just that have these companies. They're saying they have 50 employees and they have none, and they're getting all of this money, blowing it all. And then now the feds and the IRS are coming in. I just got a letter 2 days ago saying they need additional. Now they're verifying. I'm like, I already signed the fucking loan, but they're coming back to people. And if you can't prove it, you're getting hit big time.
So, like from your background, how do you correct that? Because
Correct it?
because what I'm saying is no,
You mean stop it from happening in the future?
right, like stopping it because like it was kind of a rush thing, right? COVID hit, bang, everybody's shutting down. To me, I think that Trump had snakes all around him and he didn't realize it. I think they're all fucking snakes. I'll say it, you guys don't say it because I don't care. I think I think his mind is blown about how many snakes are around him.
I voted for Trump, so I'll put it out
Me
there.
too.
Okay.
I think that how do you stop? What do you mean stop it in the future? I mean, there was such an onslaught of need that they had to just. You can't possibly You can't possibly get that much money out there to try and help save businesses and verify everything. You just can't.
But
So what do? You put it out, you try and come back.
The real issue
That's all they can
wasn't.
do.
I just wanted to see if you would like discredit Trump's move to do that.
No, I
Yeah.
think you're trying.
I don't think you had a
look,
choice.
we actually had this conversation. To me, I would have let it run its course. Wash your hands, wear a mask, let it run its course. I'm not going to destroy an entire economy to try and save, a couple 100,000 people. When the truth is that the fucking flu kills 80,000 people.
The problem
a
is
year.
there was no, and it wasn't even the SBA loan. The SBA loans are they really are needed for the businesses that were getting knocked off by it. They needed the relief. I thought the problem was the unemployment money that they were giving. Like my daughter, throw my daughter under the bus. So my daughter lives in New York City.
I have no part of this.
No, look, I tell her all the time. My daughter's 20 years old, lives in
Yeah.
New York City, had a job working at, it was like a restaurant or a bagel shop or something.
I'm sorry, is she in New York now?
Yeah, she lives in, yes,
It says
exactly.
hellhole?
Yes.
Nightmare?
How much do you think a kid's going to make in a bagel shop working normal? I mean,
Yeah.
a couple $100 a week, lost her job, gave her unemployment, making like one something a week. Then she got the unemployment stimulus money. She's making $1,000 a week. Do you think she wants that to ever stop? Of course not. So the Democrats are pushing for this because how do you get, I don't want to use the wrong word. How do you get people that are
How do you incentivize
without,
going?
how do you incentivize people that are struggling? How do you incentivize people that maybe haven't made the best decisions in life to vote for somebody? It's not going to tell them everybody's got equal rights here. If you want to go out and make something yourself, you can do it. No, we're going to give you everything. We're going to give you your health care. We're going to give you, and what it does is it shuts them down. It makes them never challenge anything you're ever going to do. I'm going to give you some scraps, and that's all you're ever going to want because it's better than anything you've ever had. So now you've got all these sheep that are
And
subservient.
now you get content, right?
They're happy. They're complacent in life now. Where the rest of us that are like, fuck, I don't mind working for it, but now you're making it impossible to even do that.
Yeah. What do you think about it?
I mean, I pretty much agree.
Yeah.
I just, I think that they ought to just turn the economy back on. Everybody goes back. You get sick, do the best you can. I mean, I just don't. We said that I just don't believe you should have destroyed an economy for this. I don't think the fact of the matter is, no matter what decision you made, what decision was made, if you just didn't do anything and said, look, everybody try and, wash your hands, do this, do that. We're going to try and come up with a vaccine, go to work, try and stay away from each other, try and stay home, but we're not going to shut anything down. If you'd done that, yes, a bunch of people would have died. If you did what we currently did, a bunch of people still died. No matter what decision you made, people were going to die. People are going to be unhappy about it. The problem is the decision that was made just completely crippled an economy. Granted, more people probably would have died if you had said, we're not going to shut anything down, just keep going. More people would have died, but we're going to have 5 or 10 years trying to rebuild an economy, which may collapse completely in a year or two.
I mean, running around in a mask, the minute you get into the restaurant and you can take your mask off and sit down at a table, it's just, in what world does anybody actually process that and go, okay, yeah, that makes a difference?
Yeah,
it's just
fucking thing.
I just can't believe you've gotten this many people to agree with such a stupid concept.
I don't know. I saw it yesterday.
Well, I think where you're, I understand where you're at. You want to do it, great, do it. But you're absolutely right. I see what you're saying. I'm saying, like, to me, my only thing would have been like, look, wash your hands, wear your masks. But I'm not closing down everything. That to me was when it was like, are you insane? You cannot financially prop up a country for the next 6 months or a year, and not have it be devastating.
And on top of that, I mean, what do you think is going to happen when people like, okay, so if you keep the country open, right?
Unopened, you said?
No, you keep it open.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe another 100,000 people die. Well, what do you think's happening in states where the governor's shutting shit down? They're drinking. They're doing drugs.
Divorces are through the roof.
Divorces are through the roof.
Imagine the domestic abuse that must be going on
Yeah,
in his home
the
right now.
arrest. I mean, just put it all.
He's not at the
together.
bar
And I
drinking.
start-
He's
and I
at home drinking, beating on her right now.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. I started laughing when you said that's
Because think about it, like
mental
a guy,
health. Mental
yeah,
health is
mental
already
health is,
suicide rates.
and
Yeah.
Trump said, "Don't shut shit down," and they beat him in the head.
Yeah, they don't. No matter what he says, he also said there's going to be a vaccine before the end of the year.
Yeah, he makes.
And they all said he was crazy. And here's the vaccine getting rolled out next week or this week.
No,
they
they're
said?
already giving it right now. They
Yeah.
did 2 weeks of trials already.
Yeah. So I mean, You know, is
Yeah.
Trump the best? Is he like he just maybe shouldn't talk as much? Let his
He
people
really
do
just
his
needs to
thing.
he needs to read the teleprompter and not answer questions directly
But-
because he gets himself in trouble.
But if he did that, he wouldn't be. He wouldn't. I think if he did that whole teleprompter thing, he wouldn't have gotten elected. People
yeah,
like
but
him
now
because
he's
he's him.
elected.
They said we're very likely to hear when this whole thing kind of gets flipped over and Biden does move in, that he's going to announce his running for president in 2024, like right now. And it's going to put everybody on tilt because now the people that are planning on going in 24 have to step up their game plan and can't wait till the last year and a half. They're going to have to start.
See, I think he's got something in his back pocket.
I hope he does because I would love to see.
Maybe I'm just imagining and hoping.
You're
you
an,
know,
you're an underdog at heart.
But Matt's one was fun again.
It's going to be on him or you right now. They don't have to tell what's that you're doing
boy.
it.
What do you do with the guy?
He's practicing.
First of all, we're talking about Trump and fucking COVID.
He's
I'm
practicing Rule
I never
35s and
talked about
5K
Trump.
I
ones.
mean, are you? I'm practicing.
No,
I'm
him.
expert.
No.
No,
He's
I'm-
practicing his 5K one. He's telling on you right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
telling
yeah.
you right now. Yeah, but
Oh,
no, I
okay.
think that if you take away Trump's comments and the way he acts, but you look at what he's accomplished, there's nobody that can even touch him.
I don't have a problem with his policies. I have a problem with him just a blowhard. Like I love his policies. I got no problem.
I think
with
he did a good
it's
job.
just the
with
way
economy.
he said.
Yeah.
It's what he's saying. It's getting on there and just saying.
He gives
just
them
this
too much ammunition to
ridiculous,
use against
stupid
him.
shit.
I would think that you would love that because you
I mean,
remind
I
me
don't.
similar in a way.
Yeah, but I'm not saying things that are just outrageous. I mean, it's just some of the stuff he says. It's
Yeah,
just,
it
I
is,
wouldn't
it
be
is.
making these 100% promises. We're building a wall. You'll see it. What are you doing? There's no fucking wall. Well, that's because. Well, then why did you say you promise and you swear and you'll see? And don't say that.
Nah, he got a shit ton done on that wall. Did he not?
I mean, it probably didn't do anything, but
I'm not
yes,
saying it did
there is
anything.
there is
I'm
a
just saying he
massive
got the
portion.
fucking
So-
thing
so now-
done.
I think the amount of
To
money that
me-
was spent to get what he got though was kind of a lot.
Look,
I think we're in the billions.
It wasn't. I'm going to build a mile or two. It was. I'm going to build this entire wall. I'm going to have
Matt,
Mexico.
he built like 500 fucking miles.
I'm going to have Mexico pay for it. Did they? Look. You and I both look. He's a
I agree
blowhard.
with
That's
you.
what.
I agree with you. But
point
that's
is-
his move.
Yeah, I understand, but you just here's the thing: you don't know what he could have done had he just stepped back and said, "Okay, when I say something wrong, I'm one going to apologize. Two, I'm going to try not to say anything wrong. I'm going to not make these comments. I'm going to try and act more presidential. That's all. I don't have a problem with his policies. I have a problem with his basic behavior.
But that's not him, though. And I think people like him because he's him. He's
I
not controlled
think-
by lobbyists. You can't pay him. You can't do this. You can't do that. He's who he is.
That is definitely what that's
Can't
what I
believe
do
this
like
is-
about
this
him.
is where this is going.
Well, when you think about Joe Biden coming in,
We're just hanging out.
Joe Biden, everything he says is probably something somebody else.
Oh, absolutely. Somebody
Like,
else
there's-
wrote everything he said. He's
you
not
know,
that sharp.
I mean,
That's what kills me too. Is that I don't see him as being ever. I haven't
he's
seen
barely
anything-
alive. I think he's barely
I
alive.
haven't seen
right now.
anything where I thought, wow, he seems articulate and sharp and this. It's to him, it's nothing but what did Jennifer tell me to say again? It's just like you're feeble and you're feeble-minded, and that's another thing. It's like here's what really bothers me. There's over 30 million Americans. How many politicians? This is the best we've got to offer.
That's kind of it's a situation.
It's
we're in.
so sad. This is the best of politicians that we have to offer. It's just pathetic.
But think of the game plan. They put him in there. They say he's incomprehensible.
Yep.
They kick him out.
Vice
Now
president.
guess who's your president?
Yeah.
Kamala Harris.
Oof.
Now guess who's the vice president? Nancy Pelosi. If you want that world, I'll give you a therapist you can go to because that ain't gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
And that might be, I mean, realistically, the
Yeah.
age and health. I mean, that might be a journey we're
Oh,
going
yeah.
down.
Well,
it's
why
very
would you
possible.
put him in there? Though? I mean, why would you even? Like Sanders took another payoff.
This is like some what's that channel? The 4chan, where the real conspiracy sits. They talk
Like
about
Alex Jones type thing.
Alex Jones talks about it all the time. This specifically, God, you know what I'm talking
I
about?
don't know anything, bro. I just got.
He's actually pretty right. Alex Jones is like 85% right on most of his stuff.
Is he?
What are those?
I
What
did
are
a
the-
fact check on it.
What are those guys called where they're talking about Pizzagate and
Oh, you mean QAnon? QAnon.
This is what you're saying right now.
QAnon? You've never heard of QAnon?
It doesn't sound very good. So maybe I'll switch.
QAnon.
Yeah, you're right.
It's they talk about Pizzagate and how you never heard that.
Yeah, I heard Pizzagate.
The actors that are in jail right now.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks is a child molester or a pedophile.
Tom Hanks is in jail?
No. QAnon says that Tom Hanks is a pedophile who was on house arrest. And he's
okay. QAnon's just everything.
It's real
they say,
deep.
It's so right wing. It's all bizarre.
Is that like the deep state type of thing?
Yes, it's
but
beyond that.
It's like if you took it's like the deep trailer park.
Yeah, they've interwoven every crazy conspiracy theory out there together.
The one thing I do believe 100% is the hammer and scorecard thing. I don't
know
see
what
how
this is.
So basically, you know how like I don't know. I'm not good with this whole political thing. I try to stay away from it to an extent, but I think it was Georgia. They stopped counting at like midnight, and then they started it again at 3 a.m. and Trump was up, a gazillion votes, and then all of a sudden you wake up and boom, he's
behind.
Killed. Yeah.
I don't know why they stopped it or what their reason for was stopping it even.
Well, because it's rigged.
Right.
That's why.
That's what they're saying. I've heard a lot of people say that they voted for Trump mail-in ballots and their ballots still haven't even gotten there and it doesn't show that.
Well, they seized the machine in Georgia. Rudy Giuliani got that. And they put 50 Biden, 50 Trump in. This isn't conspiracy. This is factual. Not enough to overturn anything, but they put 50 and 50 and it shot out 82 for Biden and 18 for Trump.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's still not enough.
Right.
That's not enough to overturn it.
Proof.
But, it's, I don't know, he's got Rudy Giuliani with him and Powell.
Sorry, can I get off topic for 1 minute?
Yeah, we're going to switch.
Okay. Was Frank Amadeo in prison when you were there?
The name sounds incredibly familiar. If you show me, again, pictures.
Lawyer. He was a lawyer.
Frank. Yes.
Frank.
Yeah, I have the book back there.
Bro, I wanted this guy's contact information so bad when I got out of prison. I was so upset that I thought he was another phony until I looked him up. And, dude, this guy's a beast.
Little
Frank, right?
No, I don't know if he's
little.
Short guy. Yeah, short little guy. Yeah.
I walked the track with him. The stuff he used to talk about, he was so fast in his talking.
Yeah. Did he ever talk about how he wanted to take over the world and
a lot of stuff
companies that he took over?
Yes. He was doing something. He had some big thing going on that was supposed to get him out of prison. Do you remember the Jewish guy? He'd walk the track. He was. I think Frank was working with him. He had Horshowitz or something else with his attorney.
Oh gosh, you mean listen to it. You mean Dennis Caroni?
Yes.
You understand? I wrote a story about Dennis.
Oh
Caroni.
My God, that guy was out of this world.
I wrote a story about Dennis Caroni, and I wrote a story about Frank Amadeo. You understand? You know who filed both my 2255s?
Frank
Amadeo. I mean, I wrote a story about him called "It's Insanity."
Wow.
Talks about did you ever hear about how he tried to take over the Congo? He tried to take it.
Just bits and pieces from Sean used to talk to him a lot. Is he out?
Who? Frank? Of course he got himself out, bro.
Oh yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Wow. Where's he living?
He lives in.
I've
spoken with. Oh yeah, he lives in Orlando.
Oh shit, he's close.
Yeah. He Yeah, bro. He's
Frank Amadeo. Man, it's memories. These are such weird things, That's why I love talking to people that have been there because these little gaps of time.
Yeah.
Prison's like Groundhog Day. When you're there, you feel like you're going to remember all of this, but then when you leave, all of a sudden it becomes like one giant extended day. And the minute you're back in the free world and you start doing normal things, I forgot some of the coolest people's names. And
so look, this is the story. It's on my website, but I've got all the pictures. I've got pictures of Frank in the White House with President Bush.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pictures of
me and Matt did a one-on-one about the book, and then we did a document shoot. And every document that he had, and believe me, he had like a stack to the fucking ceiling of documents.
Too bad you couldn't get him in here.
Oh, wouldn't that be great? Danny's been trying to get him. You remember he owned all these military companies, and he owned a private security company. I also have 9 Days in the Congo, a documentary about Frank trying to take over the Congo. It's like 32 of his guys get arrested by the military, the whole thing. I got the whole thing. It's on my website. It's called bro. It's great. He's great. I love him.
We did about 2.5 hours on the documents, just because
it's so outrageous. Who
right?
would
So when
believe
you read the book, it's like you read it and you're like, okay, this is funny, yeah, interesting, and you're like, there's no way that this shit's all real.
Right.
Then this guy comes in with a, like a wall of paperwork.
Him trying to buy F-15s,
Yeah.
F-16s.
F-15s, F-16s. He sat with George Bush at a NATO meeting.
Yeah, but he sponsored the NATO summit. Bro, it's fucking...
It's unbelievable, this guy.
Yeah, he helped me get into RDAP. I had a
It's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, I had a detainer on me that I didn't even know. Gosh,
Yeah, I know
okay,
what a detainer.
detainer. So when I got arrested for the feds, the state also hit me. And then when I went to court on the state dropped the charges because feds picked it up. Well, when they dropped the charges, they filed the paperwork inaccurately, and it showed on papers that not only did they not drop them, it showed that I didn't go to court, it showed that I had a failure to appear, and then it showed I had a warrant out for my arrest. And which none of that was true. I'm trying to prove it. Somebody's like, oh, you should go talk to Frank. He was an attorney on the street. So I'm walking the track with him, talking to him and listening.
To Frank?
Yeah. And I'm thinking he's full of shit. I'm like, dude, this guy, everybody,
You think everybody's full of shit?
because everybody in prison has a Bentley at home and everybody in prison has $500 million buried somewhere. They're all lying, most of them anyway. So I'm just assuming don't trust anybody. And this guy's telling me, but I'm like, look, even if you're full of shit, what you're saying you can do sounds way better than whatever I would say. He writes a letter, sends it off. 3 days later, he sends it certified. 3 days later, and you know what he charged me to do this? Fucking nothing. Maybe a mackerel, maybe like a pack of tuna, or maybe he told me to go donate it to somebody who needed it or something.
You know what he charged me? He made all I did was pay. Actually, I don't even think I paid the typist. Like, he would never accept anything, but he'd be like,
right.
if you
the
want
guy
to
that
give the
typed
typist
it, that's
something.
right. It was a guy named Tall Guy.
Brandon just got out.
Wow, Brandon was an awesome dude. Brandon's the one that typed it up.
Brandon went to prison because Brandon was a bouncer at a bar.
Yeah.
You know his story?
I remember him telling me.
Bouncer at a bar, and some girl came in and said, hey, do you know anybody that sells heroin? And he goes, I do know a guy. And he gives her the phone number, and she overdoses and dies. And Brandon gets,
He got a chunk,
what do you get, 20 years?
something like
15
that.
or 20.
Young guy.
Young, nice, just a decent guy. I mean, stupid for giving her the phone number, but not thinking anything of it.
Right.
He just,
Simple
I know a
mistake.
guy. Yeah.
But yeah, I got what nobody else could do. He got me into RDAP 3 days later. Got a letter from Chatham County saying it was a mistake. It null and voided. Case was dismissed. There's no charges. And 3 days before RDAP started, if it wouldn't have happened within those 3 days, there would have been no RDAP for Dan.
Same thing for me. I did all that. I was interviewed by American Greed, Dateline, wrote an ethics and fraud course, all this stuff to try and get my sentence reduced, right? They wouldn't, and then the government's like, it's not enough, and really you need to have told us something that led to the indictment and prosecution of another person, or and that didn't happen. So yeah, everything you've done is for nothing. I was like, yeah, but you told me to do these things. You said you'd consider it, and they go, we did consider it, and it's not enough.
How many times have you heard that?
Oh, bad.
I never got promised anything that. I mean,
That's what they said. That's not a promise.
Yeah, nothing was ever promised to me,
But that's not a promise.
or even like.
I mean, in your practice, like what you're doing, like
yeah.
how often do you hear that happen?
All the time. All the time. Yeah, and it's usually from the attorney. The attorney's like, I don't.
They're going to do this.
I don't think attorneys should ever build the illusion that you're going to walk away with probation, even if it's very likely. Because the minute somebody tells you, other than your friends, that you're going to get probation or home confinement, that's all you know.
That's
like,
what you're banking
I'm
on.
not going to prison. We knew I was going to prison because my girlfriend, who's still my girlfriend to this day, I should have her come in one time, tell her story.
Sure. She
was the first one to get sentenced, and she was. I don't know if you ever heard of the charge, misprison of a felony.
What's it called?
Misprison of a felony. So when they can't get you on a conspiracy, misprison of a felony just means that you had knowledge of something probably going on and you didn't really do anything about it. So they charged her with misprison of a felony.
They almost never charge anybody with that.
They charged her because she would not talk about me to them without a guarantee of no prison time. And when they didn't give that to her, she's like, I'm not talking, because it would have ruined, we would have had to go different ways. And I told her, do what you got to do. I was like, I get it. I'm not going to be mad at you. But we had our life together, so she chose not to. And they left her alone for years. Nothing happened. The day the feds came, like when they actually indicted me, I didn't get indicted in 2011 when I got in trouble. I didn't get indicted until 2013. We thought the investigation was over. We moved back to Florida. We were living our life.
They seem to have a habit of waiting till you get
Worst
very
possible
comfortable.
moment.
I'd opened a call center in South Florida. It was going great. Had about 60 reps working for me, finally making like decent, legit money, selling student loans and loan modifications and you name it, but doing it like as good as I could do it without getting myself in trouble because I knew all this other shit was lingering. Man, I heard my gate rattle. I had this big privacy gate. And I heard the gate rattle and thought it was my cat. I got up and I walked to the balcony in the middle of the morning. Shelly just got in the shower. I don't see anybody. And I hear a knock at the door. And I look down from my balcony. I see the guy lean back and all I see is DEA. And boom, doors open. DEA coming in. And they didn't say my name. They said, Shelly Morford. And for a split second, I felt good. I'm like, oh, they're here for Shelly.
But then you realize it was for a girl.
I did, yeah, but no, but I was still okay with it because I'm thinking, what could she have done?
No,
it can't be that serious.
He's okay. They're coming for her. Thank God.
Yeah, because it's not for me. So I go down the stairs and they're like,
She'll be fine. I'll put money on her.
As soon as they asked who I was, and I said Dan Wise, they're like, oh, we got a warrant for your arrest out of Savannah. I was like, oh my God.
Here we go.
And that's how we found out. And she's never even had a speeding ticket prior to this. They go upstairs, get her. Female goes up, gets her out of the shower, brings her down in handcuffs, and she walks by me and she's like, don't say a fucking word to these pigs. And I'm like, wow.
That's pretty cool.
Where did this come from? She's never, how do you know what to be in handcuffs and what to say?
Listen, my girlfriend, by the way, just on the same subject, when she got arrested, she says, I didn't run from them. They took them like a month to find her. So when they catch her, this sounds weird, by the way.
Just
more
keep
echoey. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, she's going to trial. She's like, I mean, she went like 6 or 8 months and was going to go to trial. I can't. That's better. Like I can't believe
because you got to talk into the mic.
Oh, okay. So she was. I mean, I can't. I'm like, you didn't cooperate, and she's like, no, and I'm like that. Now, when I got to the halfway house and met her, like every guy in the halfway house already knew I cooperated.
Right.
They're all, fuck that rat motherfucker. And here's the funny thing, like there's only a few white guys in the halfway. There's 100 people there, right? And there's maybe 8 or 10 white, whites.
Right.
And they're all sitting at the same table. And I know they don't want me at that table. I walk over, boom, start eating. What's up? I mean, just like, and they're all like, and I'm thinking to myself, you're not doing anything. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to do anything. You just got out of a fucking low. You just got out of a medium after doing fucking 10 years. You're happy to be here.
Nobody wants to go back.
Nobody wants. Yeah, you're not going to do it. And they're sitting there and they're not even saying anything negative to me. But my girlfriend was like, oh, as soon as you get up, they'd be like, what are you even talking to that? Don't talk to that guy again. He's a rat fucking fuck motherfucker.
About you.
About me. And she's sitting there going, you don't even know the guy. You don't even know him, you know? But she never cooperated. So when she and I had a conversation about it, I was like,
she can't relate.
I'm like, you didn't cooperate? She's like, no. I'm like, but I don't understand. They offered it, right? And she's like, yeah, but that's just, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, she's like, I know you cooperated. I'm like, of course I am. And I'm not an idiot. I'm looking at fucking 30 years. Of course I cooperated. I'm like, what are you thinking? And she's like, I just didn't. How
much time did she get?
6 years. And she took RDAP.
Oh.
No, almost 6 years.
Was she at Coleman?
Eventually she was at Coleman.
Okay.
She went to someplace else to go to the RDAP program.
Because they didn't
women,
have RDAP at
no.
Coleman for
then she came.
women.
She came back and did the last bit at RDAP.
Shelly was at Coleman. She was on the grass crew, cutting grass.
So was Jess.
My 30th day in, I was out walking the track, and Sean, co-defendant, Sean's like, hey, is that Shelly? I look on the other side of the fence past the bleachers by the basketball courts, and I see my girlfriend in a little, it was wintertime, little ski hat or whatever. And she sees me and disappears off into the woods, and she comes back on the big mower, hair's feathered out. We couldn't really say anything.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, they'll get in trouble. The girls will get in trouble.
She would have lost her job, maybe even got moved. But it was really neat on my 30th day getting to see her. But the halfway house, man. Whew, I violated halfway house right towards the end, and they sent me back to county jail for 27 days. And if they would have found me guilty on the violation, they would have taken my RDAP away, my 11 months halfway house. I went back for 2 years for a bag.
That's right. When you do RDAP, you can't do anything, right?
Mm-mm.
They hit me on this was in Spokane, Washington. I did my halfway house in Washington.
It's a vending machine, right?
Vending machine, bro. There was a bag of chips, getting ready to eat dinner. I put my money in the vending machine, and I pressed the hot Cheetos to put in my shitty Chinese food, and it gets stuck between the glass and the corkscrew. I'm like, fuck. And the glass is already pushed in. Somebody had already had the same problem. So I'm like, fuck it. I reached over and took the bag of chips. 3 days later, U.S. Marshals come and get me for stealing a bag of potato chips
That he paid for.
that I paid for.
Wow.
It took 27 days to fight it and get somebody to review the fucking tape to see that I put money in the machine.
Wire in the county.
Wiles County Jail in Spokane, 23-1, lockdown 23 hours, 1 hour. And then the weekends, there was no coming out. It was just, you can't shower, no phone. How people do that much time in county jail? God bless
Good
them.
times.
That is a
Good
different
times.
world.
Well, everybody I talk to, they try to do, like, they'll plead to more time to go upstate. You know, up north they call it upstate. Down here they call it like prison or I don't know. So,
I mean, you want to go to prison as quick as possible.
Okay,
You
so
want to do
like-
as little time in
so
the
up
county.
north they call it upstate, right? So like you have the county and then you have upstate, and down here they call it prison and county.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, it is
well, it threw
prison.
me off, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying it.
I mean,
fucked me
the
up in my head.
counties are not designed for long term. They're designed for temporary. The problem is temporary can be a year or 2 years.
Yeah,
and
waiting.
it's horrible, and because they're not designed for you to. It's designed for you to sit in a cage.
It's to make you really not want to come back for the
Right.
like the overnighters and the drunk tanks and
Right.
stuff.
And what
but
you have to get 2 years or more to go to state.
no,
No?
people can be sent to prison for. I mean, it depends on your crime. In county, you'll probably do all your time in county because it's not worth it. Even in the feds.
He's saying
you-
the sentence. He's saying the sentence. Like if you get
Yeah.
caught with a county crime, let's say you stole someone's purse or you did something stupid, broke into a house, you might get. It might take you 6 months to a year or 3 months in order to get charged for your
Found
urinating
guilty.
in public or something, or being drunk in public. It's only going to be 90 days. By the time you get in front of the judge, it's like time served. You've already done 90 days.
Yeah, even if you got a little bit of time left, the amount of money and time it takes, it's not like,
They're
like
not
all
gonna
right, you've been
process you for
sentenced. You're gonna wait weeks before you even transfer out. And that's why the year versus the year and a day is so important, because if you get sentenced to a year in the feds,
That's not a felony.
there's no good time.
Oh
know,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna
Plus, it's not a felony. It can be. It can be. It
Well,
can
no,
be.
I've got guys that had felonies that
I was going to say if you.
I've got guys with sentences of 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, and they're thinking how lucky they are. And I'm like,
Not
you're
really.
going to go
you
do
get no
that time
gain.
in a county where you could have got a year and a day sentence, and you're still only going to serve 10 months, but you'd be in some cushy, walking the track, making burritos on the weekends, watching
Well,
cable TV.
When he says cushy, by the way, it's in comparison to. Like it's not cushy. It's in comparison to county or what you
Pretty
consider.
cushy.
It's cushy. It's not cushy compared to your house.
No,
Like most people, most guys go there. Like to me, after 10 or 12, after a couple years, I was like, this is fine. I'm okay.
Right.
But my expectations had dropped so low. But somebody who's going to go for 6 months or a year, the whole time they're like, this is a hellhole. I'm like, this is great.
yeah, when I got there, I was very like, oh my God,
Yeah, this is
I
the
have
worst.
to be here because I got to self-surrender. But guys that transferred from county jail haven't seen sunlight and probably God knows, like house lizards walking out to the sun for the first time.
Yeah, it's not Shawshank.
I'll send you the picture. My buddy thought it'd be a great idea when I self-surrendered to kind of make a mockery of the system and had me go to a Halloween store and buy a black and white pinstripe prison costume. And that's when I walked into prison and I had him take a bunch of pictures.
No, you
No.
did not.
I didn't tell you this. I swear to God, bro.
You
if
wait. Yeah.
So
I would not think that would be a good idea.
Oh, I bet you they didn't think that was funny at all.
so I go to Party City because this is around Halloween time when I surrendered,
Yeah.
and I buy the black and white with a little hat and the numbers. And I took it one step further. I was like, it's a pill charge. So I took a bunch of pill bottles and drilled holes through it and made a pill bottle necklace. And
Oh, man.
we pull up to Coleman, pull up to the low, and the truck, there's the security perimeter truck that rides around. He's like, can I help you? I'm waiting to go into R&D. And I was like, I'm here to self-surrender. And he's like, you're going to go in wearing that? I took a lot of Molly the night before, smoked a lot of weed, drank a lot. And I'm feeling very, very depressed right now because all my serotonin's gone.
Everything. Yeah.
And I'm just like, my friends are right there. I'm like, all right, I said I'm going to do it. I got to do it. So I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, good luck. And I go inside, take my ID. Guy tells me to have a seat. And they're in there with me, recording with hidden cameras on their wall. Sitting in R&D recording
God.
this,
Yeah.
right? And I'm waiting, like 10 minutes is going by. And the guy's like, I can tell you, it normally doesn't take this long. I'm like, this is probably not going to go well. I can't remember the lieutenant's name, but it was the big, giant, white lieutenant who looked like,
Did he have long black ponytail hair?
yes, him and the other guy.
His wife
Yes,
is in prison.
Correct. It's that him. And then there was
What?
I'll tell you. It's
Okay.
good.
and then the black sergeant. They come in, I see them walking. It's like slow motion. You see them walking together, these three guys with the sun glaring behind them.
And they're
And
massive.
I'm starting to get nervous. And all I see is one of them do this. So I walk up to him and I'm like, all right, I'm being recorded right now because my friend still got his recorder going. So I just stuck out my hands and like, you got me, coppers. Oh, dude.
God.
I've never been snatched so fast. Like they snatched my soul out of my body. They ripped the clothes off me. And the guy with the ponytail comes down to my ear and he goes, you think we're your fucking friends? You fucked up. And that's all he says. And the other guy goes, we're going to send him to the medium. And I'm like, oh my God. They're like, why'd you do this? And I'm like, I'm really high. So now they think I'm a drug addict. They put me in a drunk tank for a while. They're testing me. They saw that I had THC or whatever the fuck the Molly was mixed with. I don't know what was in the Molly.
Yeah.
Only time I'd ever done Molly, first time was the night before. My friends thought it'd make me feel better, which it did at the time. Now I'm sitting in a drunk tank, like wanting to kill myself. And all of a sudden, everything's fine. They're like, go out into the compound. And immediately, guys started coming up to me. They're like, are you the guy that wore a prison costume in? I'm like, I'm embarrassed by it. It immediately gave me a little bit of like credibility.
Juice, right.
Oh, they all thought it was hilarious. Then months down the road, the same officers, they all thought it was the most funny thing they've ever seen, but they couldn't show it at that moment because I was kind of joking the system. But I don't recommend anybody do it. But it ended up working out to my benefit in the end.
Yeah,
I
you
wouldn't.
got
I
lucky.
wouldn't do
I mean, I was
Yeah.
thinking you were going to say, so I spent 90 days in the shoe.
That's what I would have thought too. I would have thought it would have been,
So-
we lost your paperwork. We don't know
Yeah.
where to put you.
The guy with the-
How's the shoe?
Guy with the ponytail, his wife was working in the shoe,
Yeah.
and
This is a crazy story.
she there was a one of the guys in the shoe was mocking her. And, you know, they're saying dirty things, and they're just being really extremely disrespectful. This one guy's extremely disrespectful, and when they have the cell rotations, she put another guy who was extremely respectful that she actually knew from being in the prison, and when she put him in there, she goes, break his fucking arm. She put him in the cell with the guy that had been mocking.
Right.
Well, they get into a fight in the cell, and the one guy struggles, and the bigger guy that she said break his arm ends up having to kill him. No, he doesn't have to, but he
Right.
ends up killing him. Okay, I'm sure that they were fighting so much at some point he realized, at this point I can't break
It
his arm.
became like a life or death
Right,
situation.
right now I'm in a
yeah.
bad spot. Now we've been fighting nonstop, and he chokes him to death. He ends up killing him. Well, when the FBI come in, they can clearly see on one of the few working cameras, they can actually see her talking to him. And when they interview him, they're like, "Look, this is what happened. You killed the guy." And the guy's like,
Yeah.
"I'll tell you what happened.
Tell you
It's
what happened.
but I need to get out of here. I need her." You know, they're like, "Yeah, of course. Let us know." He fucking says, "Look, she told me to break his arm. She didn't tell me to kill him. I didn't mean to kill him. That's not what I was supposed to do, but it was a fucking fight, and it got out of hand, and I ended up having to choke him to death. He wouldn't quit struggling." And they tried to come to her, and they said, 10 years. We'll give you 10 years.
She wouldn't take it.
She said, "No, I'm going to trial."
She got hammered.
Yeah, I think she got like 30 years or life or something
Oh.
like that. It's out. It's the sentence they gave her is so over the top for something that really was like almost, you know, it's like manslaughter or something. I was like, you know, it's like, what was that worth? It's
The
not, it
correctional
wasn't her intent.
misconduct is huge in there, though,
It
especially with the
is.
women prisons. Those correctional officer, the men, they are definitely abusing their power and having relationships with these inmates, and you know, sex for a bottle of nail polish or something,
Yeah.
for some makeup.
I'm sure it goes on. And what got you into what you're doing now? So you go do this time, you know, you get out.
It actually started before that. Right before I went into prison, 3 days before I self-surrendered, I don't know why I did it. I posted a video on YouTube and said I'm going to prison for 42 months. It was just basically a video of I have no idea what to expect. So when I came home from prison, never once thought about doing this as a career or a hobby or anything. When I came home from prison, I was in the halfway house and checking my email for the first time, and I see all of these YouTube comment. I'm like, what is this from? I'm reading these comments, and it was all, I'm going to prison for something similar. Please tell us what it was like, you know, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I can make response videos and answer their questions as a hobby. And making response videos. And after about 3 months of doing that, the channel, when I came home, had a little bit of traction because of that. And then the response videos, I started getting calls from people asking for advice. And then criminal defense attorneys started calling me saying, hey, how can we hire you to give
Right, they were
information?
calling you?
Oh, yeah, because
Wow.
I don't do anything that attorneys do. I do all of the things that they don't do. Give you, like, attorneys aren't going to tell you what to expect in prison. They're not going to tell you how to qualify for RDAP.
Yeah, they've never been to prison. They don't know.
Some of the biggest misconceptions in RDAP are misinformation from attorneys. Attorneys will tell you, don't talk about your drug abuse because it's going to make you look bad, or lie about it, or minimize it. Giving them real information, showing them that, hey, I went in and I'm not dead and I came out better than I went in. It gave people hope to where it could go. And then I started taking it serious and making sure that I wasn't giving these people bad information. Business started out of it, and becoming, I'm probably the nation's leading consultant, and I can say that, and it sounds really cool, but there's not that many of us. All these other guys that are in the industry, they've got to charge big dollars. They'll charge 30, 40, 50 grand for the same thing that I might charge anywhere from like 10 to 15 grand, or as low as 5 grand, because I've never had any overhead on marketing. Everything client-wise has come from free enterprise through YouTube. There's never been a dollar spent. So it allowed me to really not only offer it to overly rich people, I can also offer somebody that makes, 40, 60 grand a year, because it can be affordable for the average person that committed a first-time crime.
So you're almost doing like the legwork for the defense attorney.
I make their job so much easier. I make them look like superheroes at client sentencings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good thing to have,
Yeah.
because they don't do shit. I can't tell you how many people have been in here, and I mean, you've written how many books, but they don't do their job.
I mean, unless you've got several $100,000 to give some attorney, this
I would say $500K minimum.
Well,
if you don't have
And even
$500K,
then,
they're going to trial.
Even then,
but
they're just so under. I mean,
the
what
federal
can they really do, right? What now? If they knew what we did, or if they knew what I did, if they understood it from A to Z, they would be. If both of you are attorneys and you both had the same practice, and I came to you and said, hey, you're charging your client, let's say 50 grand to 100 grand, add me into that, pay me so the client doesn't have to. It's going to build your value so much more as what you can offer your client, because now you're going to your client and saying, hey, also this is going to come with Dan, who not only did time, can tell you what that's about, but he's got some mitigating factors that can make a huge difference to shorten your sentence. Maybe you won't even have to do time at all. We've got 4 or 5 guys that we've done interviews with that came back after they got sentenced
and coach you into it too.
Oh my God, the whole thing.
And the family.
What you tell your kid. My daughter's come on and done interviews as what you should say to what she wishes I had said to her that I didn't say. So it's just been these like eye-opening. I hate talking about the kids because that will jerk the tears out of you.
I was just thinking to myself, I was thinking, you're
that was the
already
hardest
fucked
part,
up.
bro.
I know that's.
I lied to them. I was like, I didn't do anything wrong. The feds are out to get me. This is
stop, bro.
That's what I did.
I know
because that's what you do, right? You're Superman to your kids, but I don't think people should do that. I think you tell your kids because they're going to find out what you really did.
Yeah.
And they either find out from you, or they find out from the headlines, and then now they're confused. They don't know what to say to you, and it builds distance and conflict. So,
yeah, you got me. I was just thinking. I actually had a guy.